I guess, as Rachel said, my name is Heather Keslak. I'm a real estate investor, and I own a place called the Keslak Family Condo, and I rent that out, and that's in Hilton Head, South Carolina. I have a husband and a child who's 9 years old, a daughter, and I live in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area in the U.S. I have a friend who was following your Wellness with Rachel page, and she's just happens to be a friend since the year 2020, since the pandemic happened, and we connected on a spiritual journey, and it was all about intuition and activating your intuition. And I met Abby through there, and she has followed my journey since 2020. I've been sharing everything I've been going through, my healing journey. She suggested you because I had gone through probably 4 or 5 other therapies prior to connecting with you. And she said, I really think you should check her out. I think she could really help you get to the next level. And so I looked you up, and the rest is history. I would say the reason that I, struggled so greatly was my lack of sleep since I was in my early 20s. The greatest struggle in my life that kind of propelled me into so many other problems was my lack of sleep. I believe that contributed to me having anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations. I was an active addict from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, starting with food, moving into, alcohol in high school, at the end of high school, cigarettes, marijuana. I became addicted to medical marijuana, starting out doing it with the best of intentions to help me sleep, as I had just begun menopause as well in 2020. And I became addicted to that too. And so I would say that was the number one thing that I kind of knew that I needed to attack, was the sleep deprivation, because I couldn't get anywhere without fixing that. I have days where, I push my husband away. I build my walls back up for a minute. I push my child, not push her away, but I won't let her into what's going on within me and my struggle. And I had suicidal ideations for my entire life, and very, very strongly in the last 2 years. I was forced into cognitive therapy when I was a child, with the assumption that it was my fault that I was in therapy. My parents basically said I was so angry that I needed therapy. And that was abnormal, and I was the abnormal one. So I was put into therapy in shame, and I was forced to sit and talk to a stranger, and they did not help me. It was not helpful whatsoever. So cognitive therapy was first. Then when I was 19 years old, I went to a support group. On my own, I found an adult children of alcoholics group, even though neither one of my parents drank. I would say the next time I relied on trying to get help was medication. I was very depressed, so I took medication. I lost a child in 2006, and I took medication then as well to get through that. But I knew, having experienced the medication the first time around, that I didn't want to stay on it very long. So I set a goal of being on it for a very short period of time, and then I would get off of it. And I basically spiraled into a continual depression. I've probably had depression and anxiety my entire life. So I did spiritual, somatic, cognitive, energetic, and then I moved on to you. All of the things that I was suppressing that were lying underneath this all started to come out. And that is an extremely painful experience, especially when you've been stuffing it for 46 plus years. I didn't believe that I would feel what I feel now. I didn't think that I would be where I am now. And I think the level of suppression that I had was off the charts. So I think that relates to how I felt after the first session, feeling like the rage train was coming at me, I remember that feeling, and I think I told you, I realized that the reason that, and I see it now in hindsight, the reason it was so powerful was because I was never allowed to be justifiably angry. I was always told to not feel, and to nothing that I felt was valid or honored. It was stop, be quiet, stop doing it, stop crying, stop being angry, stop doing all of those things. So I just kept doing this my whole life. And then so I had my second session, and it was my memory is always a struggle as well. So I think that's another reason I came and worked with you, was I've forgotten a majority of what happened in my life. And now, even still to this day, I'm having more memories come back on a daily basis. Yeah, it's so many layers that have been opened up and really cracked open. It feels like, you know, I've taken a nutcracker and like literally cracked this entirely hard walnut that has been closed off for 40 plus years, and it's freeing. It feels like space. It feels like all of those things that were inside me were stopping me from being able to know who I am. They were stopping me from living an authentic life. So we're both, yes, my husband and I have grown so much in the last couple years, and I have kind of, you know, just learning how to put my ego aside so that we've basically had to start over. We've been together 22 years, and the last 2.5 years was basically just meeting each other. So one of the things that has completely disappeared since I've been working with you, that I did not realize was going to disappear and didn't have any intention of wanting it to really go away, because I had just learned to accept it my whole life, was chronic neck pain. So I believe that something I've learned through working with you is just how much the subconscious contributes to health problems, mental, physical, all of the above. My neck pain has completely disappeared, and I believe that's because I have found my true voice. And holding my neck up and my head up all these years with all the weight that was bearing down on me gave me neck pain. And for the first time in 22 years with my husband, it's the same. We're learning who each other really is and figuring out how to communicate with one another in a way that is mutually beneficial but not codependent, because there was a lot of that went on. So it's a journey. There's growing pains. I would never want to be back there. I mean, I would never want to be in a space where I couldn't be who I really am. There's going to come trauma. There's going to come, life is going to keep hitting me and keep, as long as I'm on this planet. That's the reality of the world and the reality of life here. I know what value I bring to relationships, friendships, and I won't spend my time in spaces that don't feel like they are giving my authentic self joy. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, an exciting one, and a wonderful one, and it was the best money that I have spent in the last, in 46 years. A lot of money has been spent on basically keeping me where I was.